And recording. All right. Remember to listen to your body. Remember to do what feels right for you today. Stretching is very different for different people, and for everyone, you gotta know your body. You gotta know what you're doing. But let's stand up, and let's start with a few gentle movements. We're gonna start with the head, arms, the shoulders, the neck. We're gonna move our way down our body while I sort of rant at you. So let's just start by gently rolling the neck. Now you can take this side to side in little semicircles, or you can go all the way around if that feels good for you. And just trying to loosen up maybe any tightness that I might have created, sleeping on it weird or being bent over all day. Excellent. And then bring your head to neutral, and you're going to tip your head to one side as if you're listening to something on your shoulder, and then take your other arm and reach away as if you're trying to reach towards the corner of the room. And then you're just going to internally and externally rotate that arm. And that might affect the stretch in the neck. This feels really nice to me, really gentle. And I also like to gently nod my head as I do this, because I notice that it takes the stretch into slightly different areas of my neck. Now, if you still want more, you can take your arm, and don't yank on your head, just use the weight of your arm to create a little bit of gentle resistance if you want to intensify this stretch. Excellent, and then come back to neutral. Just take a moment here. And let's go to the other side. So bringing the ear towards your shoulder, listening to your little shoulder angel, hand out, and internal and external rotation. And if it feels good to sort of nod, then you can do that as well. Wonderful. And then if you wanted a little bit more, you bring the arm on the head. And don't pull, just use the weight of your arm. Awesome, and then coming back to neutral. Let's do some shoulder circles. Just bringing the shoulders up, forward, and back. And as I do the back, I am allowing my chest to open. I am allowing the collarbones to separate. Wonderful, and then switching directions. Wonderful, and let's just move the arms a little bit as well. Just going side to side. I always used to do this with palms down, by the way, and then I discovered that you can do this with palms up, and I've liked it with palms up a lot more. It feels like it does more for my shoulders, but you should play with it. See if you like that. Palms down versus palms up. And also, make sure that you're switching which arm goes on top every other time. Something I sometimes forget to do. Wonderful. All right, legs comfortable distance apart. I'm slightly wider than hips distance, and let's just take a twist here as well. Again, we're starting nice and gentle, but we'll amp it up a little bit. And remember, you can always lift the heel of the trailing leg if this bothers your knee or anything like that. Wonderful. And then we're going to reach up and do a little side lean. So you can do this with interlacing arms, or you can do this one-armed, depending on how much support you want. But we're going to reach up with one arm or both arms. Really think about extending up and out, and then side bending, as if there is an object right here, and you don't want to squish the object. You want to allow yourself to wrap up and over that invisible object. If you want support, you can always support yourself on your leg, or if you're doing the double arm version, keep reaching up and out, up and out. You should feel a nice stretch through the side of the body. Good, and then come on up out of that. Again, just taking a moment, and let's do the other side. So deciding what version you want to do, reaching up over that object. You have your little stuffed animal there or something. Maybe one of those like 19th century butt pillows. Those seem so comfortable. Good, and then coming up and letting the arms rest for a moment. Let's do a quick shoulder stretch as well. We're gonna do a tricep stretch. So bring your hand to your back, patting yourself on the back for waking up today. You did a great job. And then other hand on the elbow. I'm going to help pull that arm behind my head, but don't let it just go walk and like pull to wherever it's gonna go. Give yourself a little resistance. So this arm is trying to do this arm is trying to do this at the same time. Wonderful. And breathing. And something I've also enjoyed is, I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see a little better, is don't allow yourself to be here. Think about opening the shoulders, but keeping the abs engaged at the same time. So I'm trying to be in as straight of a line as I can on the side of the body. This is useful with the camera so you can kind of check on your own screen, or if you have a mirror or something around. Wonderful. And then let that go, and then let's do the other side, arm to the back, grabbing the elbow, giving yourself a little bit of resistance, and then maybe checking in. So if I relax, like I find myself doing this position where my ribs are open but my shoulders are closed. So I want to make sure that I'm engaging the ribs but opening the shoulders. That also helps it take out of my neck so that I'm not pressing against the back of my head with my arms, and it relieves a little bit of pressure there. Great, and let that go. And then we're going to do the arm in this direction. So you're pointing across, you see something over there, you're telling that guy the thing is over there. Reach underneath of your own arm and pull it in. Make sure that you're dropping your shoulders. So something that I like to do is actually rest my own hand on my shoulder, lift the hand, drop the shoulder at the same time. I find that that provides a better stretch. You don't have to keep pointing unless you're trying to make a point. I'm sorry. Wonderful. And let that arm rest. And other side, reaching across, underneath. Make sure that shoulder is down, that hand is up, and pulling in. So while we do this side, I'm going to blab a little bit. So the point, or at least how I like to think of active flexibility, is using the strength of the opposing muscle group to stretch a muscle group. So all of our muscles have an opposing group of muscles that allow us to do an opposite action. Our muscles are really good at contracting. They're not really good at, you can't expand a muscle. That's not how muscles work. They only really contract. So in order for a muscle to expand, to stretch, the opposing muscle group has to contract. So they work in pairs. They always do that. So my bicep allows me to do this. My tricep allows me to do this. My bicep does not allow me to do this. It just relaxes when this muscle engages. Does that make sense? So by engaging this muscle can lengthen, can elongate, and can stretch. So that's kind of the principle behind of active flexibility, as I like to do it, is using our muscles, engaging them in a way that allows the other muscle to relax, to lengthen, and to stretch. And I found that for my body, it's a very lovely way to gain flexibility. I usually feel really good afterwards, because I'm not just pushing myself into a place that I'm uncomfortable or that my body starts freaking out. I'm using the strength of my body to help me get to a newfound flexibility. Awesome. Okay, so let's do a forward fold. Let's get into the hamstrings a little bit. We're gonna start with a banging one, with an awesome one, so cute. You're gonna have your legs comfortable distance apart. Go ahead and fold forward and just take a moment to be in this position. This is probably the first time that you're here today. This is the first time I'm here today. So just wherever you are, recognizing that. If you need to pedal out the feet, you can do that. If you need to move the hips side to side, do that. You know, the hip hop and dance. And then interlace your arms. Maybe let your head hang here. I like to do a gentle sway, maybe just a little side to side, maybe nodding the head yes and no. I find that if I really relax, I can actually use the weight of my head to help weight my spine, and it feels like a distraction, and it feels really nice. In order to do that, I have to have my weight over the balls of my feet a little bit, so I'm shifting forward and really thinking about being heavy, being big-headed. Wonderful. Awesome, and then go ahead and bend your knees and roll up one vertebrae at a time until you're in a standing position. Shake out the legs just a moment. We're going to do some more intense hamstring things, but if you feel any weird tingling, I just want to make sure to get rid of that first. All right, folding forward again. This time, we're going to do a very graceful stretch. I imagine it is akin to squatting over a hole to take a poo. So you're going to grab your own legs and you're going to bend your knees. And bending the knees allows me to bring my chest closer to my thighs. And you're going to try to keep your chest as close to your thighs as you can. And I'm going to use the strength of my arms to help that happen, make that happen as I straighten my legs. I'm going to straighten my legs. And I'm going to actively use my arms to try to keep my chest nice and close to the thighs. Nice. And then we're going to repeat that a couple times. So you're going to squat down and then straighten the legs. Now I do recommend doing this with the breath, so you can inhale and exhale, and just try to pull yourself a little bit deeper each time. We're going to do this about 5 to 10 times. And squatting and straightening, and I'm really using my arms, really trying to pull myself forward as if I'm trying to get my head through the legs. Down. And I am taking just a moment at the top when my legs are at their straightest to fold myself forward. Good, and last one. Excellent. Go ahead and release that. Let's bring the arms forward just a little bit so that we're in more of a downward dog position. Dropping the chest down in between the hands and pedaling out the feet. It's a nice calf stretch, trying to get the heel down towards the floor and alternating. Good, and then plant one foot in the center and take the other leg up towards the ceiling, and let's do 5 kicks here. Now I'm not really worried too much about good form or anything like that yet. We're just warming up the body, so do what you gotta do, kick 5 times. And on the 5th one, go ahead and step that foot all the way up in between the hands. If you need to adjust, do so. I wanna make sure that my front foot is right underneath my front knee. And I wanna make sure that my back leg is nice and straight. Okay. I'm trying to drop the hips, I'm trying to open the hip bones. Oh, hip bones, hip flexors. Okay. And then pushing back like this makes this more about my back calf. So again, if you want a little bit more of an Achilles or calf stretch, shift your weight back. If you want less, shift your weight forward. Good, and wonderful. We're gonna do a hip opener here. This is one of my favorite hip openers. So you're gonna come down to your knee here. And you wanna keep your back toes tucked. And you're gonna want to get your shoulders over your hips. Now, if you need something to help you with balance, you can use a piece of furniture. If you don't need help with balance, then I recommend having the arms out to a T and pretending that there's something that you can push down on. There's an invisible object that you're going to be pressing down onto. Now, the trick for this one is to try to keep your hips at the same height. If they lift a little bit, it's okay, but you're really trying not to make that happen. You're trying to open further through this hip flexor. So I'm going to straighten my back leg. I'm going to try to really keep my hips at the same height, and I'm going to lower back down. Straightening the back leg. Try to keep your hips nice and low and lower back down. Awesome. We're going to do this 5 times. Really feel this as an extension, opening that hip flexor, using the strength of your legs, not just dropping to the floor, but lifting up off the floor. Awesome. Rest your knee on the floor. Go ahead and straighten your front leg, holding over that front leg. Right, and have that foot flex. We're going to do some windshield wipers. You can also point and flex the foot. Wonderful, looking good. Awesome, go ahead and bend that knee. We're gonna plant our hands and step back to our downward dog. And we're gonna do that on the other side. So other foot towards the center. We're gonna start with our 5 kicks. So kicking up towards the sky. 3, 4, and 5. And then on the 5th one, step all the way up in between your hands for your low lunge. Adjust if you need to. Just taking a moment here. Maybe shifting forward and backwards. Getting a nice stretch. All right, and then bringing that knee to the floor. If you need your object for balance, then go ahead and do that as well. But coming upright, my shoulders are over my hips. I'm nice and square. I'm trying to find my balance. My toes are tucked. We're gonna lift up 5 times. So arms to a T if you're not using something. And trying to straighten that back leg without lifting too much up. Trying to keep the hips where they are, where they were. Do this 5 times. Last one, and 5. Awesome, bringing the back knee down to the floor, shifting the weight back, straightening the front leg, folding forward. And then doing the same motions that we did on the other side. So I did a windshield wiper, so side to side, and also point and flex, point and flex. Excellent. Okay, we're going to move into the hips just a little bit more, warm up the hips with this exercise. Now, you can use your hands as much as you need to here. So you can grab onto something, you can use them on the floor, but if you want more challenge, try not to use your hands. The important thing for this one is as you're going down, because we're going to be going up and down, is that your knee and your toes always face the same direction when you're putting weight to stand up. Don't try to stand up with your foot out here and your knee pointing that way. That's bad. You're gonna hurt yourself. So for this one, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start in a wide stance, and I'm gonna bend one knee, and I'm gonna drop all the way down as low as I can go. And this is where, if you need to use a chair or a couch or the floor, you can. Then you're gonna sit down. I'm gonna lean back until I'm on my bum. And then the bent knee is going to do 2 things. It's going to internally rotate as far as it can until my knee touches the floor. And then it's going to externally rotate as far as it can, trying to get my knee as close to the floor as I can. So it's an internal rotation, external rotation. Then you're going to come back to neutral. This is the point that I was making about knee and toes facing the same direction. Shift your weight forward. If you need to use the floor and object, you can. And then stand back up. Then we're going to do the other side. So lower, roll back, internal, external, neutral, standing up. We're going to do this a few times to each side. You'll be trying to open up the hip. And for bonus challenge, when you do stand up, try to keep the straight leg straight. So I'm rolling through that hip joint. I'm trying to internally rotate to help me stand.
Anastasia, I have a question.
Yes.
When you externally rotate the leg in that seat, are you allowed to let your other hip follow it at all, or does the other hip stay stationary?
That's a great question. I am trying as much as I can, you're talking about this moment right here, to keep my other hip on the floor. I'm trying to make this leg go external as much as I can using the strength of my body. I can, of course, just like push that leg down, but my hip popped up. But that's not really what we're trying to do. So try to keep your hip down of the straight leg and use your glutes. Use the strength of your hips to try to externally rotate that leg. Because this is still more of a warm-up exercise, I would say that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. And let's just do one more on each side, and we'll move on. Yeah, so for me, for my external rotation, I can't actually get my knee all the way to the floor without like shifting forward and putting my weight, but then that switches it around. Wonderful. Once you've balanced out your sides, we're going to come down to the floor. We're going to do some things on the floor next. This is going to involve a little bit of core, which I love. Sorry, just checking. Okay. We're going to start working a little bit more on our hamstrings. We did some hip flexor opening. Now we're going to do some hamstring opening. And when we were doing our hip flexors, we were trying to engage the glutes to push open through the hips. And in this case, we're going to try to engage the front of the body, engage our abs, engage our quads to help release the back of the leg. Again, with that opposing muscle group. These are muscles, by the way, that I was talking about. Okay, so we're gonna lay down on the floor. Now you can do this from the elbows or you can do this completely flat, up to you. Completely flat will be harder. On the elbows will be a little bit easier. And then the leg that's not working, it can be bent with the foot on the floor, or it can be straight. Straight is harder, bent is easier. The leg that is working, you're going to bend the knee in towards your chest, like so, and then you're going to kick that leg towards the face, like so, and you're going to alternate. We're going to do 10 of these on each side. Knee to chest, leg to face. Knee to chest, leg to face, or knee to chest, leg to face. Okay, so 10 times like that. If you are actually getting dangerously close to kneeing yourself in the face, make sure that you're aiming for your shoulder. Don't actually knee yourself in the face. And notice how when my leg is coming up, my hips are scooped under. I'm very much trying to draw my belly button towards the floor to help tuck my pelvis to help get that leg further. That's how I'm getting it up there. Nice. And once you've done 10 on that side, let's do 10 on the other side. I'm trying very hard to have a straight knee on that second kick, even if it means that I can't get my leg as close as I would like. Last one for me on the side, and rest. All right, for this next one, if you want more hip flexor opening, you have an option to use a prop. If you don't have a prop, ignore this completely, but you can use a yoga block or a textbook or a foam roller. Anything that can lift your sacrum off the floor by a couple inches is good. I'll show you what we're doing. If you don't have it, again, don't worry about it. You can still do the rest of the exercise. So if you have a prop or a book, you're going to put it underneath of your sacrum so that your butt is elevated slightly. And you're going to extend one leg down towards the floor. And try to have your heel touching the floor, but squeeze your glute and open the hip flexor to try to press that foot towards the floor. You're going to try to maintain this position as we do things with the other leg. So this is the elevated version. That's going to make you think about this leg, this hip opening, and this glute engaging to make that happen as you do stuff here. Now, the stuff that we're doing here, we're going to work on some leg straighteners. You're going to interlace your hands behind your leg, wherever it is, and you want to be able to get to a straight-legged position. Now, if you can't do this with the hands around the leg, you can also use a strap or, I don't know, I have a towel right here. Use a towel just to give you a little bit more length, and that's totally fine. I want you to be able to get to a position where you can have a straight leg. So one leg is down, one leg is up. You're going to pull your arm in, and you're going to extend this leg nice and straight. And I'm pressing against my own arms, and I'm pulling with my arms. So there's resistance there. My leg's trying to do this, my arms are trying to do this at the same time. There's resistance. We're going to hold and breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you're going to relax that leg and let your arms win and see if you can pull it in a little bit. Yeah, remember to keep this leg against the floor. Don't let it lift up. So keep that separation, keep that extension. Good. And now we're going to resist again. So pressing with the leg, pulling with the arms for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then rest. Relax that leg. See if you can pull it in a little bit. Very nice. We're doing it one more time. Resist with the leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax the leg and pull it in. Excellent. Let's switch sides. So that leg to the floor, second leg up. I always notice that my hip flexors feel different here. I actually feel that once this hip flexors relax a little bit, I have a better compression. I don't know if that's actually true, that's what it feels like. And squeezing this glute, making sure the heel is down on the floor, opening through that hip, opening through the front of that leg. Interlace your fingers behind your other knee or use a strap. Straightening your leg. And resistance. We're going to push into our arms for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then rest. Pull that leg in towards your face. Good. And then resistance. You're going to extend for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax and pull that leg in towards your face. Lovely. All right, one more time. And extend for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And pull that leg in towards your face. Excellent. And let that leg go. I'm going to go ahead and remove the block or item if you had an item. We're going to come towards a seated position. We're going to do 2 exercises, and they're going to be very similar, but they're going to work slightly different things. And we're going to do each one twice. So the first exercise we're going to do is a butt balance. I call this butt balance. You're going to grab your own legs with your arms. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pull my chest forward, and I'm trying to find my balance here. So I'm pulling my abs back. I'm opening the chest, and I'm pulling my legs in. Okay, and that's creating my balance. Now, as I extend, it's going to send more weight that way because an extended leg weighs more than like a bent knee. When it's out in space, it feels heavier. So as I extend that leg, I have to counterbalance with my abs, and that's going to create that opposing force. For more challenge, hold in closer. For less challenge, hold the legs further away. The pattern is going to be this. You're going to go one leg, bring it back, second leg, bring it back, both legs, bring it back. Okay, we're going to do that 5 times. Ready? 1. Make sure your neck is nice and relaxed. 2. I'm just trying to spend just a second at my extension. And again, if you need to, you can always use your strap or my dish towel, because for some reason I have one right here. You never know when you're going to need to dry some dishes. Like, you never know. Got to be prepared. Wonderful. Good. And once you've done your 5, relax your legs. You can shake them out for just a moment. Wonderful. That one I find really works my balance. So if you lost your balance, totally fine. Happens to me all the time. This time we're going to do it from a straddle. So you can still hold on to the backs of the legs, or for this one you can actually hold on a little bit lower depending on where your straddle is. So ankles, calves, feet even. We're going to do a similar thing. You're going to extend one leg, bring it back, extend the other leg, bring it back, extend both legs, bring it back. For these extensions, I find that what helps me is imagining there's a wall right behind me, and that when I'm extending my leg, I'm trying to touch the wall behind me. That's not literally what is happening, and that's not what it looks like for me. But that's my thought process. It really helps. All right, ready? You can even start with the other leg if you want to. 1. If you're holding lower, it might look a little bit like this. Nice. And remember to try to stay long through the neck, open through the chest, but engage the abs. Wonderful. Awesome. And rest. Now for the second set of these, you can always opt to just repeat what we did. I find that holding on with the hands does make it a little bit easier. It's not an easy exercise, but it makes it a little bit easier. But if you want more challenge, we're going to use our abs a little bit more. For these, you can have your hands on the floor for balance, or just have your arms up and floating. And we're going to repeat. You're going to bring your knees in as close. And this time when you straighten, really try to use your abs to keep your legs as close to your chest as you can. For this one, it's okay if they move away a little bit, because we are definitely using the strength of our abs instead of pulling with our arms. We're going to try not to let that happen. I find for this pike version, squeezing the knees towards each other, like squeezing my legs together, helps. You're going to go one leg, second leg, both legs. Wonderful. And we're going to do that 5 times as well. Remember, you can always use your hands for balance if you need to. And if you do find yourself rounding through the back, that's okay. Just try to reset before you do the next one. So if I round, I'm going to reset in between each extension. Very nice. You guys look fantastic. This is the last one for me. Good. And let's take a quick break. If you need to shake out the hips. Some people do feel this exercise in the hip flexor or in the quad. Some people feel this in the low abs or in the abs in general. Those are not wrong. We're going to be using a lot of that. Ideally, we want to be trying to use more and more core, but I also find that that depends on the angle of which your legs are. So the closer the leg are towards the torso, the easier it is to tap into those deep muscles to keep the leg up, versus when the legs are further away, it's a little bit harder. Possible, but harder. Okay, got one more. We're going to do our straddle. Same thing. If you want more challenge, hands out. If you want less challenge, hands balance. And toes are touching. My feet are off the floor. I'm going to start with the other leg just to mix things up. Go one leg, second leg. Yes. One leg, second leg. Very nice. I also feel that when I do this exercise, I look like the Starbucks logo, right? Like I am Starbucks logo, right? Anyway, I don't think that's like what she's actually doing, but that's what it makes me think of. Awesome. And let's let that rest. Let's check the time. Perfect. So there's a lot of different exercises that we can do to target the different areas of the body. I am trying to briefly touch on a little bit of everything. So we can definitely go into depth. It's very easy to spend an hour just on front and back splits, just on the hip flexor, just on the hamstrings. We could also spend another hour on straddles, but let's go ahead and move on and do a little bit of back engagement as well, because I find that being a little bit more open, both physically and mentally, helps me throughout the day. So we're going to roll over onto the belly now. I'm going to hide my feet under my couch. If you have more space, you may not have to do that. And I'm just going to start with a nice Sphinx pose. And as I do this, I am trying to pull with my arms as if I'm trying to drag my body across the floor. Try to stay long to the top of the neck and the head, just for this one. And I'm trying to squeeze my glute and push my hip bones into the floor and open up, and just feeling how much strength that gives me to lift up. Like, I'm not just trying to crunch through my back, I'm actually trying to push down to allow myself to lift up. Wonderful. And then, of course, if you want a little bit more, you can use your hands to help press yourself up towards a cobra. Yeah, just taking a couple of breaths there. We did do a lot for the front of the body. So I'll say I'm cracking them up. I'm glad. My defense mechanism is humor and dad jokes and puns. So I'm glad that it's at least entertaining. Okay, so now we're going to do an active version of that stretch. We're going to roll up. You have options for this. Now, if you have something on your feet, like I conveniently have a couch, it's actually going to help a lot. If you have somebody who can hold your ankles down, or even stick your feet underneath of an object that weighs something, it will help. You don't need one though. You can do this without it. You just may not go up as high, and that's totally fine, unless you're really strong, which some of you are. I know that, I've seen it. So options for the arms. Your hands can be back, like this. This will make it the easiest. Your arms can be out to the side. This will be a little bit harder. And then the hardest version is going to be arms up by the ears. You're going to want to try to keep your feet on the floor for this one. Engage the glutes. I'm really pushing my hip bones into the floor. And then I'm going to try to lift up as high as I can and lowering back down. Again, choosing where the arms need to be. We're only going to do 5 of these. So really try to take your time going up, maybe even holding for a second, and coming down with control. 2, you can play with the arm positions. 3. I really like to open my arms and turn my palms up. I find that really helps me engage and lift when I do that one. It also kind of looks like I'm questioning why I'm even here. And last one. Awesome. All right, so we're going to do a modified version of that exercise, which works really well if you have sliders. Like, you can actually slide across the carpet, like furniture sliders, like the cheap stuff. But if you don't have sliders, that's also okay. You can do this with the hands. We'll show you. You're going to start with your hands out in front of you and your face down, like so. And I'm going to try to initiate all of my movement through my back, through my spine. So I'm trying to lift with the head as if it's reaching up and back. I'm trying to lift with my back, and my hands are just being dragged. Whoops, not the mat, just my hands being dragged in. And when I feel like I can't drag my hands in anymore, I'm going to press my hands underneath my shoulders, maybe even a little bit closer, and I'm going to actively push up in towards my cobra, in towards my stretch, try to find a nice even engagement and bend through my back. And then I'm gonna lower down nice and slow. When I get to the point where I feel like I can hold myself without my hands, I'm gonna let my hands extend out. We're gonna do that 5 times. Take your time on these. Your goal is to use your hands as little as possible at the beginning and at the end. This is gonna look very different for different people. So just try to feel an even bend in the spine rather than a hinge at one particular spot. If this bothers your low back, then use your glutes more. Engage the glutes, squeeze, push the pelvis into the floor. Push your feet into the floor, tops of the toes down. Okay? So dragging, lifting, and then pushing with the arms when you can't drag it anymore. Making sure that you're still open through the chest. And as you start to warm up, you can, of course, go further and further. Right down. Really challenge yourself by seeing how soon you can lift those hands up or how long you can wait until you push with those arms. This is the last one for me. If you're already done, just hang out for just a second. If you still got a few more to go, that's fine. Keep doing your to-doing. And lowering down. Wonderful. I'm going to turn around so you can see what I'm doing for the next one. We're going to take a gentle side twist. I'm going to go ahead and lift up into my stretch. Then I'm going to flex one foot, tucking the toes under, like so. And then I'm going to straighten that leg. And I'm going to try to keep that hip on the floor as I straighten it, so don't let yourself lift up like that. Keep that hip down, straighten the leg. And then, if you still feel good here, you can turn and look over the other shoulder and see if you can look at the other heel. And then releasing, and then switching to the other side. So flexing the foot, straighten that leg, and look over the other shoulder. You can alternate from side to side. I find that that gets into a nice side oblique / front ab area for me that's very hard for me to stretch. You might just feel this as an engagement in the back as well. That's totally fine. We're trying to find that very lifted position, tucking the toes, straighten that leg, but keep your hip down. And looking over that shoulder. You might also feel this as a stretch on the front of the neck as well. It also feels really nice. Excellent. And then come on out of that. Go ahead and bend the knees and shift yourself back so that you're more in a child's pose position with the forehead down on the floor. You can wiggle side to side and just let yourself be heavy. Just take a moment here. You can bring the arms by the sides as well, if that feels better. Or just being extended up by the ears. Good. And then let your knees go wide or a little bit wider, whatever is comfortable, and allow the chest to drop down in between the knees. Just breathing here. And then you're going to take one arm out to the side, and I'm aiming for about 90 degrees out from my shoulder. And then you're going to take the other arm and match it, so I'm going thumb to thumb. And then I'm once again dropping my chest down towards the floor, and you should feel a nice opening through the side body on that side. To help intensify the stretch, you can also kind of look underneath of your arm as if you're doing a pit check. Smelling fresh. Awesome, and coming back. Taking a moment in the center. I suddenly feel that my right hand is a lot longer than my left hand, so let's do the other side as well. Thumb to thumb. And we're lying down, dropping the armpit towards the floor, trying to open through the side body. And let's do a pit check on this side as well. Fantastic. This is the dream right here. Good, and then coming back. And coming out of there. Awesome. Taking a moment, I just like to sit upright and just check in with the body. Of course, if we had more time, we could just keep going forever and ever, stretching for days on end. But that's all I have for you today. That's all we have time for today. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. So ask away, and then we'll take a little group photo and things like that as well. But love you. Thank you for being here.